Hello everyone. How many of you enjoy a traditional Indian breakfast? Well, by traditional Indian breakfast, I am actually referring to a traditional South Indian breakfast, and namely dosas and idlis. Dosas are like a pancake, for those of you who don't really know, made of rice and uh, lentils. It's made into a pancake, sometimes crispy, sometimes not so crispy. And idlis are little dumplings, also made from rice and lentils. Despite my enjoying these traditional breakfasts, it does take a little bit of time. You see, I grew up on bread most of the week during school days and special Indian, traditional Indian breakfasts and so on only at the weekends. But my husband had one of those mothers who prepared traditional Indian breakfast every day for him. And he kind of thinks that if it's a good breakfast, it has to be a nice Indian traditional breakfast. So I did over the years learn how to make dosas and learn how to make idlis and so on. And also because my daughter is like absolutely in love with idlis. But today my focus is mainly on that little dish called sambar, or a little lentil stew. For those who don't know what sambar is, a South Indian lentil stew that always accompanies dosas and idlis. Every once in a while, I would make a big pot of sambar with lots of vegetables incorporated into sambar, and I would freeze it in little containers to be kept in the freezer in order to accompany fresh dosas and fresh idlis when I actually make them. So, this is my way of making life easier for me and to also give my family a healthy breakfast. So, guys, I do know that some would only want freshly prepared meals and would be totally averse to frozen foods. But in my opinion, um, frozen food which has been prepared at home beats takeout anytime. So it's a choice you make, and this is an option that has made life so much simpler and easier for me. I know I've done moringa sambar very much earlier in one of my earlier videos, and I have the title was moringa fruit stew because essentially the moringa pod is the moringa tree's fruit. So, well, that's why I named it such. So, today I'm going to make a mixed vegetable sambar. I am going to do it very quickly, run through it very quickly because essentially the steps are the same. So, here I am going to use this. This is my big jar of lentils, and I'm going to take a larger quantity. I'll show you because I would, as usual, would like to um, parboil this much in a bigger quantity. I'll use some for the sambar and the rest I will freeze. And in case you're wondering what this is, guys, this is evidence that I have voted for the state elections in Malaysia. When we vote, we have to, in Malaysia at least, we have to dip our hands into a jar of ink. So this is evidence that I have voted and done my duty to my country or to my state. 1 cup of dal. This is the second cup. Okay. Second cup. I'm going to wash this and then soak it for about an hour. So the dal has absorbed, has been soaking for about an hour plus. This is how it looks like. So I'm going to put it into this pressure cooker. You could always use a big pot as well. It doesn't matter. The pressure cooker just hastens the process. To this pot, I'm going to put some turmeric powder and a little bit of oil and some salt. So I'm adding just enough water, just a little bit, in order to sort of like cover the tops. So there's not too much of water in there, just enough. And I'm going to now maybe boil this, turn this on and leave it for about 3 to 4 whistles. So this is how it looks. a little too mushy for my liking, but well, that's how it is now. It's just nice to make a sambar. Yeah. Hi everyone. So I'd really gotten tired last night after boiling the dal, and I decided to go to sleep. So let's continue today with the sambar. Here are the ingredients. This is sambar powder. It's homemade, but you can get store-bought sambar powder as well, or you cannot use this as well. It's up to you. It just gives an extra kick to the sambar. Chili powder, turmeric powder, salt, oil. This is about 90 ml. Oh gosh, I thought I knew it. Now I forgot. Okay, it's about 90 ml of tamarind juice, and this is about 120 ml of coconut cream, asafoetida, and then the mixed spices that I always use, which is split urad dal, mustard seeds, and cumin seeds. And then this is for the tempering later. Some onions. This is about 3 cloves of 3 bulbs, 3 shallots, and this is a few dried chili. You can get the normal dried chili if you want, but this is kind of cute and is also a little more spicy. And some about 2 sprigs of dried, curry leaves. Did I miss anything? No. These are the other ingredients. This is how the dal looked like yesterday. I had put it in the fridge, so it's hardened. This is a lot. As I mentioned, I'm going to freeze the rest, which I'm not using today. So for today, we will be using about 3 cups of boiled dal, and then this is about 2 moringa drumsticks. This is some eggplants that I have just cut like this. I think it's about 2 eggplants, white eggplants, by the way, guys. And then this is about 1 small white radish, or you could call it muli, or you could call it bulling kiranga in Tamil. It's thickly sliced. And then I have two large potatoes that I have also kind of cubed. Then I have this 2 tomatoes quartered, and 1 small carrot, medium-sized carrot that I've thickly sliced. I also have half a green chili and about 3 to 4 cloves of garlic that I have just done this, just chopped it, sort of like sliced it in thick slices like this. Lastly, some coriander, chopped coriander leaves just for garnishing, and it also gives a nice flavor and taste. So this is a large pot. It's also heavy based, and I realize now that a heavy based pot works a lot better at not burning things underneath. So this is really good, and I'm going to use about 1000 milliliters of water, and to this water I'm going to add only 2 cups of dal. So now I'm just heating up the pot of dal and water. The reason I only put 2 cups is I'd like to add another cup towards the end. The reason being, sometimes you see sambar where you don't see bits of dal at all. I'm not so much in favor of that. If you like sambar where you totally don't get to see the dal, then you can put all 3 cups inside. But for me, I like to see a little bit of dal, pieces of dal here and there. So yeah, that's my preference. So that is why I've not put the last cup of dal in. While the dal is heating, I'm going to add salt. Don't worry about the lumps here. They will sort themselves out eventually. As it heats up, it will, the lumps will not be there. They will just break up. So 1 teaspoon of salt. This is my sambar powder. I'm going to put 1 heaped teaspoon and another heaped teaspoon. 2, and then 2 teaspoons of chili powder and 1 heaped teaspoon of turmeric powder. But this is a really big pot of sambar with lots of vegetables, so I'm just going to add another teaspoon of salt, and I am going to add more water towards the end. So now I'm going to wait for it for this gravy to sort of like start to boil, and then I'll start adding the vegetables inside. So these garlic should have been added to my dal while I was pressure cooking the dal earlier. I didn't do it, so I'm going to add it in here today, right now, and also the chili. That's the reason why garlic is so important. Garlic and this asafoetida is so important for any meal which uses dal. I will explain in a bit. The rest of the vegetables, I'm going to use the hard vegetables first, the ones that will take some time to cook. The carrots go in, and then the radish or the white radish, and let's see, oh yeah, the potatoes will have to go in now as well. All the potatoes. Just going to cook it for a bit. And you see that the dal is no more clumped up, just bits like this, but mainly it has broken up. So I'm going to close the pot and cook this for a bit, and then only I will add my moringa drumsticks and my eggplant. So it's been cooking for about 2 to 3 minutes, and I'm going to add the moringa in now. There's a lot of vegetables, so we might need to add some water later, depending on, because it might be too thick. So I'm going to add the brinjal. As for the tomato, I'll add it a little later because otherwise it'll just turn into a mush. So for now, just this. Let me see whether I need more water. Not really, no. So I'm just going to leave it like this. Give it a stir. Let it come to a boil again. And maybe cook for another, this I think will have to be cooking for at least 4 minutes. So asafoetida is always used, when you have a dish which has dal in it. So sambar is predominantly a dal stew. So you must use asafoetida. And one of the, asafoetida and garlic. So the reason being, according to my mom, and probably according to her mom before that, is that these ingredients, the garlic and the asafoetida, prevents you from getting a bloated tummy, a stomach, or indigestion and so on, because dal or lentils does that to you, and to some of us at least, not all of us. Those who are sensitive, this lentils would sort of sometimes cause a little bit of bloating and indigestion and so on. So that is according to what my mom told me. So it's now time to open this. Can you see that it's beginning to thicken already? Now it's also like bits of gravy is coming out. So can you see that the gravy is so thick? And this is what I don't really like. I don't like it to be like this. Some people do. I know some friends of mine who like dal to be like this, but in my case I like it to have the little forms of dal in it. So anyway, so what I'm going to do now is pour in the tamarind juice, and then I would like my sambar to be a little redder, so I'm going to add a little bit more chili powder, another 1 teaspoon, 1 heaped teaspoon, and that only depends on what you guys want. And because it's a bit thick for me, I am going to add a little bit more water. So I'm adding 500 ml of water to this, because remember, this is a big pot of dal and you want the gravy and the vegetables in it. You don't just want like a thick casserole or something, this is like a stew. You need the gravy and the vegetables. So I'm just going to stir it, give it a stir and let it come to boil. And then I would probably add the coconut milk much later. So at this stage, once it boils, you can add the tomatoes. So I'm going to wait for it to boil. So the sambar is boiling. I'm going to add my tomatoes. There's no real hard and fast rules, guys. If you like your tomatoes really mushy, add it much earlier. If you like it like me, I like to kind of bite into my tomatoes, then you put it towards the end. There's no real hard and fast rules with cooking. Do what you want, and don't I really feel that we shouldn't make this such a big deal. Then we will not cook. You can taste it, and if you need more salt, since this is a big pot, I'm going to add 1 more teaspoon, or maybe 1.5. You have to taste it to sort of come to your preference. And now I'm also going to add my coconut milk. Even this is up to you. If you want to use all of it, you can. If you want to sort of stop in between, you can. So I said 120 ml just now, but I've only, sorry, I said 120 ml earlier, but I've only used half of it. So it's only about 60 ml of coconut milk. I don't want it too, too much, because coconut milk is saturated fat. So, we don't need too much of fat in our diets. So now guys, you can add more dal if you want to. Like you see, this has some pieces of dal, but not so much. So I'm going to add just half a cup, not the whole, not the whole 1 cup. Just going to add a little bit more. Yeah, that's it. And just let it boil for a little bit, and it's basically done. So can you see that it's like a thick stew, like a stew that you can eat with rice or chapati or practically anything. You can even have it on its own with bread. So now that it's boiling, I'm just going to put the chopped coriander. And now this is done. All I have to do now is get the tempering done. And once that is done and put on top, basically it's done. So I've heated up this pan with some oil. I've also added some ghee, but that's totally up to you. I'm going to put about a tablespoon, just about a tablespoon of my mixed spices. I'm going to lower the heat. I'm going to take it out actually because it's really heating up really fast. I'm going to put in the asafoetida. It's getting really hot. That's about a teaspoon of asafoetida, or maybe 2, because it's a bigger pot of dal. I'm going to turn off the heat. Okay. And then I'm going to add all of these in. The onions, the chilies. You can kind of like break open these and take out the seeds, because sometimes the seeds and everything, they get very, very spicy. So it's entirely up to you. Can you see that this asafoetida has kind of clumped up here? I'm going to add a little bit of oil onto that bit there and break it up. So once this is nicely browned, all we have to do is add it to the sambar. So now I'm going to add this to my sambar dish. And as I always mentioned, this is a game changer because this really makes amps the taste of the sambar. So there it is. You can mix it all in, or you can just leave it up like that. So guys, this is a yummy sambar, all done. I did mention in one of my earlier videos that dal has this thing called lectin in its raw form, and this lectin can cause some problems in our bodies. For instance, it can cause the clumping of the red blood cells, it can cause indigestion, diarrhea, and I'm not sure what else, but a few different things associated with the gut. So in order to prevent that, you must always pre-soak dal and always boil dal in order to eat it. So I suppose this adding of the asafoetida and the garlic might not be old wives' tales after all. There could be real truth in ancient practices and old traditional practices where these certain ingredients are added to offset the effects of another ingredient. So we must hand it to our great grandmothers and so on, or our forefathers, for actually they must have done some research on this in their own way to come up with something like this. So here I have ladled some of the sambar into these containers, dated the containers, and these will be frozen for future breakfast meals. So thank you everyone for joining me today. I hope these steps that I take in my life, prepping meals or even cooking a larger portion of a meal to keep it for a future meal, would help you and you would utilize it in your lives as well. Thank you so much everyone for joining me today. Here's Shakila Shanmugam signing off. Bye everyone.